Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Growth Class. I'm Phil Masiello, your host, and I'm thrilled to be joined by a guest who has truly revolutionized the world of fiber arts. She's the visionary founder behind Mirrix Looms, a company born out of the necessity for a better way to weave. Now, you would say to me, okay, Phil, what's the deal with this? But it's actually an interesting business and on multiple levels because she sells the looms and you would think immediately, right? Big looms, but they're small, personalized looms. She'll explain the story of why people do it and how they do it. But, she just was dissatisfied with the looms available on the market. So she decided to build her own. And that's how she started. And she combined that portability with the high tension required for professional quality tapestry and bead weaving. And since then, she's grown the company into a staple for weavers. She ships around the globe. She's known for precision engineering and a deep commitment to the craft. So please welcome the founder of Mirrix Looms, Claudia Chase, and her daughter.
Who is responsible for our growth completely. But yes, we own it together. You got to give her half the credit though.
Yeah, that's fine. So why don't you take us? I just did an introduction. I don't know if it was good, bad, or indifferent, but why don't you take us back to the point where you decided? Because when we had a conversation, you were talking about when people started to, sort of loom, as a hobby. So why don't you take us back to that and explain what you did and how you did it and why you did it?
I wanted a certain tapestry loom. It didn't exist. I wanted to add bells and whistles to what was currently out there. I contacted one of the loom companies making tapestry looms, and they didn't want to do it. So I decided to do it on my own just because I wanted the loom. I didn't want to go into business. And I contacted a friend of mine who worked for a fire department and had a garage full of fire department parts like trim and together we threw together the prototype of the Mirrix loom, which looks very much like what the Mirrix loom looks like today. Um,
To just
I
interject a
somehow
little bit,
what?
to kind of go back a little bit further, she was a professional tapestry weaver. And she wove on these big floor looms, which is what traditionally, people are weaving on. She had two kids. She had me. I was in elementary school. My brother was even younger. And she was looking for a loom that would function as a professional loom, but that was portable. So she could take it to my soccer games and embarrass the heck out of me, weaving on the sideline.
Weaving on the sidelines.
I did a lot of that.
She was a mom and she was an artist, and she was trying to balance those two things. And so the reason that she was looking for this portable loom was because she had a lifestyle that demanded that. And I think especially at the time, tapestry weavers, tended to be older. I don't know if I don't think she knew that other people also wanted the same thing, maybe for the same reason, maybe for different reasons. And so that's kind of where it was born, with it. She did have this unique need as a tapestry weaver to also have a professional loom.
I think that's so great to picture your mom weaving on the sidelines of a game. I mean,
You wouldn't believe, and I told you before that I was a state rep. I did that in the hall. I would weave in my seat for 6 years, but that's okay. Uh,
yeah. So then so who's the customer for this? I mean, is it professionals? Is it artists? Who is it?
I think it used to be more professionals, right? It was people in a similar situation who were professional tapestry weavers. This is a very niche market, right? You have weavers and then you have tapestry weavers, which is a subset of weaving.
yes.
But maybe Claudia wants to go into the story about exactly how this happened, but she sort of accidentally found out that other people wanted the same thing that she wanted. And my dad, who was in business, kind of pushed her into doing this. And she was like, no, nobody else wants this. This is just something I need for myself.
Be in business. I was an artist.
And
That's not uncommon, by the way.
And, she found out that there were other artists out there like her. Over the years, we've had to expand our market because, that group of professional tapestry weavers is a very small one. So eventually, she found out that the loom was actually a great bead loom. And so now, we do have that market of professional weavers who want a high quality portable loom, but we also have people who are more casual tapestry weavers, who are more casual crafters, who are more casual bead weavers. Coming into recent years, I think we have more people, there's this big push for kind of analog crafts, for disconnecting, for, getting rid of this digital world. And tapestry weaving, especially because it's a craft that you really have to think about while you're doing it, that has really, really appealed to people. So I think as the years are going on, I think it's becoming more popular with younger people, more popular with people who are, not necessarily professionals, but who want a high quality piece of equipment, even when they're just doing crafts.
Yeah.
And
It's not something they're selling.
And there's a weird thing about craft and art. Okay. What is craft? What is art? And I always like to look at it because it gets confusing, because craft has always been defined by women, more or less. So it's gotten really blurred. I see craft on one side of the line and art on the other. And the perfect piece of artwork is in the middle, beautifully crafted, and you invented yourself. When you go heavily into the crafts, you're talking about pre-printed canvases and blah, blah, blah. And when you talk about tapestry, you're moving very close to the art side. Yes, you want it to be beautifully crafted, but most tapestry weavers invent their own designs. So it's a very, very, very high-end art.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could see why you wouldn't, you said before, I didn't want to be in business. And, that's not uncommon, because a lot of people who make the mistake, of, taking their passion and trying to turn it into a business. And then they have to do the things that go along with the business, like accounting and marketing and things like that, where they don't want to do it. They just want to do what their passion was. And so they wind up being miserable in business.
The nice thing about our business is, because I weave a lot and still love it desperately, that's what our company is. I mean, it's people who love weaving. If I had gotten to that point where I didn't like it, I don't think our business would be successful at all.
And
Really don't.
yeah. And how do you tap into those customers? How do you find them? I mean, that's a pretty specific niche. I don't think that traditional advertising would handle that. I mean, it might.
You become a marketing expert. She actually had a graduate degree in marketing, which is amazing for a tiny company like ours to have a person with a master's in marketing.
Her setup is interesting because she is, she grew this business very slowly from the beginning, but she has kind of gotten to focus on the things she loves about it. And, that's one of the great things about being in business a long enough time, that you can build a great team behind you, because she gets to focus on the creative aspect, which is the part that she loves. And so she maintains a really positive relationship with her craft, with her art, and has that connection with her customers. I've kind of taken over the marketing side of things. And we have an amazing team at manufacturing who does everything. So, I think it's true what you say about there being this danger of going into business with what you love, but also as you build up your business, I think you get to come back to that sometimes.
What I don't love is accounting. What I hate is accounting, and I don't have to do that anymore. So I am so happy. But I want to tell you one of the first things that happened, which I think is a great story. So I started the business in Wisconsin, and that's where it still is. We have a manufacturing facility, no longer in a garage. But we were moving from Wisconsin to New Hampshire, and I knew this, but I was going to leave it there. And so, remember 800 numbers? Yeah, you remember 800 numbers. So we got an 800 number. I was kidding. Well, we got an 800 number first thing. So when we got to our new house, I plugged in our phone and the 800 number rang. Okay. For the first time, because we had just gotten it. What I had done was, there was this thing called Convergence, which is a huge weaving event, huge, every 2 years. Couldn't be there, driving to New Hampshire. So I contacted a place called Earthgo, which was one of the stores that sold this kind of stuff. And I said, I'll send you 25 looms. See if you can sell them. If you can't, I'll pay shipping both ways. And they said yes. In the 3 days that show happened was when we left Wisconsin. When I got to New Hampshire, the person calling in the 800 number wanted to buy one of our looms. They were at Convergence. I said, why didn't you buy them there? She said, they're all out. So we sold 25 of these looms, brand new, no one ever seen, in 3 days. So I
Wow.
knew we were going to succeed.
Yeah, that's great. But how do you scale that? I mean, how do you find, um, I mean, we do a lot of advertising, and I'm just thinking, how do you find those people, or what's the better channel for finding them? Because I would think ads may not be as
We barely advertise. No, we've
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
or
Hey,
I think social.
advertising.
I think it's made for social media, right? I mean, I think it's made for.
Absolutely made for social media.
We, very early on, before my time, she had a website and stuff. We embraced inbound marketing really, really early. I think, especially in terms of very small companies, right? Our goal has always been to make a lot of content, and have that content drive the right customers to us. Um, we've tried advertising, even, niche kind of advertising things and, magazines that are for weavers and stuff, and we really don't see much from that kind
Let me
of
just
stuff.
pause. What I mean, the very beginning, we'd do a print ad, and someone would call me up. Remember, you had to do the credit card, and I'd say, "Where did you hear from us?" And rarely did they hear from us from an ad. So I figured that out at the very beginning. And sorry, go on.
But yeah, social media, we did, I mean, gosh, how many years ago was this? Maybe 2012. So, this was the days kind of before influencers. We did something called Social Market for a Mirrix, um, which was kind of one of my first things when I started working for Mirrix. And it was based off of this idea, where Ford gave some cars to people around this time, and they had them drive around the country in their cars and kind of record their road trips and see, oh, these people loved these cars, and shared it on social media and stuff. So we did a similar thing where we gave out looms to some people that we had apply to the program. We gave it to them for free, and they had to blog about their experience with the looms over a 6-month period or something, afterwards. And we would, post links to the blogs on social media, and we'd have them do social media posts and stuff. And it was wildly successful. Um, we were not only connecting to the networks of the people who were blogging, but we were also reaching different kinds of people, because we were getting all this different content that, we may not have been able to produce ourselves. And that kind of marketing has really been the foundation of our marketing up until now. And we've worked really hard to keep things small and personal, but kind of all about connecting to other people in the industry, to connecting to other artists, other craftspeople.
And teachers, we connect to a lot of teachers and other people in our business. There are a lot of women who have emerged into this business as business people, not just customers, which is unusual because in the past it was a lot of men owning the stores and stuff. Okay, so we are all connected and we're really nice to each other and we support each other. So it's kind of a wonderful market in that respect. That's what we rely on. Word of mouth, teachers, people who write the books.
Yeah, but how do you scale that? I mean, you've gotta continue to grow, right? And so, like, how do you scale word of mouth? Word of mouth is hard to scale. Social is not difficult to scale. I can understand that. You get people who are in that,
Okay.
world.
Word of mouth is easier because remember, people teach this. So you go someplace and there are 8 people in your class and 7 of them have a Mirrix loom. Okay. This happens often because we are the go-to loom frequently. So, and everybody loves our looms and they love us because we're nice. And so they say nice things about us. I mean, we are, we're very nice. We're nice people.
That's another point, is that from the beginning, the idea in Claudia's head about this business was a very old fashioned one. It was not so much about focusing on growth, although obviously that's important. And obviously that's how we have kept in business for almost 30 years. But it's about really slow scaling, and it's about living within our means when growing our business. Um, our goals, we were talking about this, the two of us earlier, our goals are different, I think, from a lot of other companies in that things that really matter to us are like how happy our employees are, how happy we are, actually building,
How
we
how good
make,
our product
yeah,
is. Yeah.
we make a, made in the United States, made by real people in our own manufacturing facility product, where we could scale a lot faster if we decided to make our looms in China. There are a lot of things that we could do to make a lot more money, and that is not our number one focus. So kind of slow growth.
Well, it's been an anti-focus. I have always said that we will always be in America, in the United States, and that everything that we could have made here, we would have made here. Um, and we've done that.
No, and so we've had a lot of growth over the past 30 years, but it's been certainly slower
Oh,
than
another
it
thing is we produce new products a lot. We started with like 6 looms, and what do we have now? 15 different looms, more. I can't even remember. We create kits all the time. We dye fibers. I mean, every year we come up with at least 4 new things. So people are very interested. They come to our website to see what's happening now. What are they making now?
One thing she said to me recently was, it's our job to create customers. There are a finite number of people who weave tapestry out there. So the more that we come up with interesting things that we can make on our looms, the more that we can connect with interesting people who make interesting things on our looms, the more that we do that, the more customers that we create.
But then how do you, okay, I get that. Then how do you get to those newly created customers? Because if you're on social, right? If you say inbound, that means that you're doing something, taking activity and getting people to come to you, which is fine. I get it. But if you're dealing with tapestry people and then you decide to focus on beads, like, how do you find that? Do you just go and follow the same process and say, okay, well, now we're going to find bead bloggers, or we're going to find,
Well, that's how we did in the very beginning. I mean, I think we were 5 years into it, and I met this woman on the bead store, and she said, I wonder if you could use that as a bead loom, because most of the bead looms out there are absolute pieces of junk. And I said, oh, let's try. And so we discovered not only could you use it as a bead loom, you could use it as a very specialized bead loom that doesn't exist anywhere else. And so then she helped, then the bead world caught on, and it would wind up at bead shows. And that's how. I mean, that's how that works. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
Yeah,
that's
no, I get it. I mean, I get the whole, like, we have plenty of people on the show that are just building lifestyle businesses. They just want the business to give them a lifestyle, like you're talking about. They want to be happy, take care of their employees. But at the end of the day, you still have to grow, because whether you grow slow or fast, you still have to grow, because every year costs go up. Every year, you need more employees. Every year you got to, pay people more.
yeah, yeah.
And so all the costs go up. And so that sort of forces growth. And then you have to have profit, because without profit, you lose oxygen and the business can't breathe. So, I mean, you have to have some sort of a growth attitude,
Well,
even if
we
it's a
grow.
slow
We
growth
do grow
attitude.
slowly every year. The other thing we've never done is ever gotten in debt. The way we finance Mirrix is as we go along. As I put 5,000 in, 10,000. So we never have any debt. So we're not under that pressure, which is a huge relief. Okay. Like, often my office is my bed, I mean, we don't go for fancy here. We don't have a company car. Manufacturing is great, beautiful. It has everything we need. But, we don't do that stuff because we want to stay in business and have fun.
But I think what answers your question is that we're following we're following the trends. We're following what people are doing in this very broad space. And when we see that, people are doing macrame on looms, we're following that, and we're finding the people who are, teaching that trend, who are interested in that, and we're contacting them, and we're, you know, getting them interested in our looms. There's a lot of our business is figuring out interesting things that our looms can make and can do, and figuring out who the people are, what the connections that we can make to help us get into those new spheres, to to contact new customers, to contact new people who might someday become customers or might someday be interested in this craft in general, even if they're not. And I think we've done a really good job, especially over the last 15 years, of creating that
Well, yeah, because
steady,
she's been,
slow
we are,
growth.
unlike many small companies, we are really good at marketing. Okay. And we have the expertise. I think a lot of businesses, their problem is they have a great product, but they don't know how to market it. We know how to do that.
I would think that probably one of your, I don't know if I didn't look, but I don't know if you have a YouTube channel, but I would think that
Yeah, we do.
a YouTube channel could be a great asset to,
We have everything. We have every channel.
teaching, but doing videos of teaching people,
We have what? How many? Like 50 videos at this point, or 60? Yeah, we have.
We have videos going back to like 2012.
Yeah,
some of them. I mean, some of those early videos though,
they're embarrassing. Some of them. It's okay. I like to see myself young. It's fun.
Well, I mean, I don't think any videos are embarrassing when the founder does them because they become more authentic, and people like authenticity more than they like polished. And so, those older videos are probably doing a good
Because
job of
she's
selling.
always finding out what's happening. So years and years ago, like 2012, I think, a company called Crafty started that did instructional stuff. So they fly you out there with all the TV, and we were one of the first people to do that, and it was intense. It was crazy. It was great. So I have 6 hours of video of me teaching weaving through them.
the people
Very young
still
at the
buy
time.
this.
Yeah, 50. I looked great. I really did. I like to look at it to remind myself, No, it was fun. It was interesting because I wanted her to come. She just started working for Mirrix full time, and they're like, no, no, no. I said, I'll pay for the ticket. She's coming. And in the end, they paid for her ticket because she was so valuable. At that said, they're like, okay, we get it. We get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was your handler. Yeah, but content, videos, pictures, we do things called weave-alongs where we have, online
Yeah.
events where people make projects and stuff like that. That is really the core of our business because
I would imagine it would be. I mean, I think visually it's probably a great thing. I
Yeah.
don't think that's what I was trying to get at earlier. I was thinking that, advertising probably would never be a good, or traditional advertising, I should say,
No.
would never be a good channel for you. But what do you think what's the one piece of advice that you got that you think led to your success? None?
No,
Just gut
I don't
instinct?
think I got any advice that led to, except from her. No,
no, on
I don't think
pricing.
what? Right.
What did your ex-husband say about pricing our products? I think that was
That's it. My ex-husband, before I left him, said, you have to price. No, this was great advice. You have to price high enough to have a wholesale margin. If you don't, you're screwed. And he was totally right, because it's not that we make so much money from our wholesale sales, because you lose a lot in the sale. I mean, you make a little bit of money, but it's nothing like a direct sale. But if you don't offer to sell it to the stores, they're going to badmouth you. They're not going to say, oh, yeah, get a Mirrix that we're not allowed to sell. So if someone comes in looking for a Mirrix, they can call us up and say, do you sell? So that putting in that pricing was one of the best things we've ever done. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, and it's led to, we have a kind of interesting business model where we're B2B and B2C. Most of our money comes from direct sales. And there aren't that many stores around the world, right, that sell tapestry looms. So there's a finite number. And a lot of them are so small that, it's hard for them to stock looms and stuff like that. But, we have some great connections with stores, and, not only not bad mouthing us, but, it really helps if somebody does want to go into their local store and they can say, hey, we do have this loom, or we can get it drop shipped to you.
We can get it for you. Yeah. And we have we're big in Europe now. We have Mirrix EU, which a distributor in Mirrix runs for us, distributes to European. And then we have a great distributor in the United Kingdom. So we are getting out there. It's, that doesn't necessarily make a lot of money, but the exposure is wonderful. So,
Yeah. So that That's an interesting question because most businesses have some sort of a recurring purchase model, right? You're selling a loom once. Do you sell other stuff to people?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
make tons of kits. I dye all the fiber, and this is funny. Mirrix looms don't break. They'll last forever. They'll last for too many generations. That's another thing we believe in, making products that last forever. So what you say, okay, so you're screwed. They buy a loom. No, some people have 5 looms. There's a contest among our customers who can own every loom, you know? So people who are into them will collect them.
Yeah, I mean, we have customers that we've had for 30 years. We have a shockingly high rate of people who, one of our big things in recent years was we came out, most of our looms are all portable, but we came out with a really tiny little portable loom called a pocket loom. And it's less expensive than the other looms. And it has been incredible in bringing people into the company. It's a really high quality tiny loom, which was something that there's not much of out there. And people buy this little loom and they say,
Yeah, it
well,
functioned like
now
a
we
big
need a
loom,
bigger
but
one.
with
And we also need an even bigger one, and we need a kit. Yeah, we launched it during COVID. Yeah, well, which is a good time to launch it. Actually, it
Yeah,
turns out.
I would imagine. I'm fascinated by it because most of the time we have businesses on the traditional stuff, software as a service or, traditional products, e-com, yada, yada. I have never heard of anybody building a loom and having that scale as a business for 30 years. I mean, I just fascinated by it but when you think about it, there's always a subsegment of the market where somebody's interested in something. And if you can carve out that niche and figure out who those customers are and how to get to those customers
or how
and
to
sell
make them.
them a product that they're happy with, then, you can build a nice lifestyle business and just continue to go and move on. I would imagine that I haven't tried your looms. I'm not a loomer, but I would imagine that your looms are probably higher quality than the ones that probably come in that are cheap that they sell in like
They're the
places like
highest
Michael's.
quality. You cannot. And in terms of the the bells and whistles, it has them all. Normally, little looms are missing the ones you really need. So no, they're great looms. I mean, I ran over a couple of them with my car once, and they didn't even get a dent. I was going
That's
to a show, ran over them. I didn't sell them because I felt guilty, but it's like there's nothing wrong. You can run
yeah,
over them with your car.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I've only seen the big looms where they have the big block of wood and you weave it through
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
do that.
you
But
know
I'm not.
one challenge that we have had, talking about that in competition and stuff, is that people copy us, right? We've had, there's something for our littlest looms. We have these little combs that are interchangeable, and I saw recently on Etsy somebody who literally copied exactly what those look like, and put them on a loom that they're trying to sell on Etsy. Um, but sometimes we'll get complaints from people who buy, some crappy loom that looks sort of like ours in China. And they're like, this loom is terrible and it does this and that. And we're like, that's not one of our looms. That's, that's probably why. So kind of being in business for so long, like we have the cachet of our name, which, if you're not in our niche little markets, like, what are you talking about? But, people want a Mirrix.
Plus customers who defend us to death and find them. And I say, there are economies of scale. We buy 3 tons of aluminum. They're buying 1 piece. They'll be out of business in a week. And they always are. They always are. Just
Well, I mean, I think that, I think that does happen in business when people start copying you. It's sort of a testament that you've sort of become the standard, right? That's what people are sort of copying. So that's the plus side. The downside is when people confuse you, and it happens all the time. Like we get it with a lot of the brands that we deal with, and they get people calling them up saying, the product was terrible. And when they look, they go, that's not ours. I don't know,
yeah,
where
it's
you
always
got it,
funny
but
when
it's
you
not
get.
ours.
I was at a show once, and this woman came
But
in,
I'd
and
love
she
to
was
sell
like,
you one of ours because ours is better than that. And so, okay, we're just about out of time. I think we actually went a little bit over, but that's okay. So where can people reach you? What's the website that they can go to if they want to buy a loom?
Yeah, go to www.mirrixlooms.com, M-I-R-R-I-X, looms.com.
If you're a loomer,
or search for tapestry looms.
if you're doing
We come up.
tapestry and you want to recreate the unicorn tapestries in New
I
York,
told them about them. You've
no,
seen
I've known
them.
about
You've seen
those
them.
forever.
I love
I
that.
just,
Was what
I've known
inspired
about
the
them forever,
New Yorker.
but to me, that's what I was envisioning when you said it. I was like, these people are buying these looms to be able, I mean, those things are massive. And I'm like,
They're
you
making
got-
mini ones. Mini
yeah,
unicorn
you're making
caps.
mini ones.
But those tapestries.
That's what I couldn't, that's what took me a
inspired me
little
to be a
while to get
tapestry
back into
weaver.
my head, was that these are small looms that have people doing, you know, small tapestries. And I'm going,
They're just
if you
making the
pick
horn of the
tapestry,
unicorn.
48-inch loom where you can make a piece 4 feet wide and 6 feet tall. And that is not small. So you can make, but no, not like the unicorns.
I
Not like the
gotcha.
unicorns.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So again, you know, it's great. I'm the reason I had you guys on. I'm fascinated by the whole concept. I think it's wonderful. I think that you built a heck of a business, great lifestyle business. Who would have thought if somebody came to me 2 years ago and said, you know, looms is a big business, I would have said in my, yeah, maybe for Michael's, but you know, now I understand it. It's much more of a niche, much more high quality. There are people out there that want to do that. And I think it's fantastic what you guys have accomplished. And so, yeah, Elena, Claudia, thank you for coming on, and people can go to, say it again. Where's the website?
Mirrixlooms.com.
Mirrixlooms.com. And then
It's
your
a made-up
YouTube
name.
channel, is at
It's-
Mirrix Looms.
Yeah.
And your
And
social
our
media,
Instagram is
Social, yeah,
Mirrix
everything's at Mirrix
all
Looms.
everything is at Mirrix Looms. Everything. So you want to go see, you want to learn
TikTok,
about,
you name it. Yep.
you want to learn about looming, you want to learn about building tapestries. That's where you want to go. Okay,
Yep.
great. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for
It's
having
been
us.
fun.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye.